My father always said he didn't believe in favorites. He'd say it like a slogan, like a defense. I treat both my sons the same. He said it to teachers, to neighbors, to his church friends, to anyone who noticed the bruises on my arm or the way I flinched when my older brother raised his voice. He said it even when Sean, the golden boy, was smashing things in our house, stealing money, dropping out, getting arrested, and coming back like nothing happened. He said it after I started sleeping with my door locked. After I stopped talking at dinner. "We're a family," he'd say. "You're both my boys." But when Rick died, I found out exactly how he'd measured us. And I wasn't even on the scale. We sat in the lawyer's office, 4 of us crammed into a beige, windowless room that smelled like old paper and anxiety. My aunt was there, and my mother, Susan, stone-faced, clutching a handkerchief she hadn't used. Sean slouched in the corner like it was some inconvenience to be summoned for this. I sat closest to the table, just trying to breathe. The lawyer read through the formalities first. Bank accounts. Investments. Then the house in Fairfield. "The property located at 2125 Grandview Terrace will be transferred in full to the decedent's eldest son, Sean M. Kerr." I blinked. Thought maybe I'd misheard it. The house? The house I grew up in? The house I took care of after Rick got sick? The one I drove to every weekend to mow the lawn, fix the fence, shovel snow? The house I literally slept in 2 nights a week so Susan wouldn't have to be alone. That house? He gave it to Sean? Sean didn't even flinch. Just nodded like he'd already known. The lawyer continued. "As per the remainder of the estate." I held my breath. "All remaining possessions, cash assets, and belongings are to be distributed according to the attached list. There are no allocations made to the decedent's younger son, Dylan." Silence. Complete silence. It was the kind of quiet that feels like a scream. The kind where you can hear your heartbeat, but nothing else. No one looked at me. Not even Susan. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My throat had closed. I stood up. "I think there's been a mistake," I said. My voice was thin, like paper. The lawyer looked at me over his glasses. "This is the final will. Signed and notarized." "But he wouldn't," he said. I couldn't even finish the sentence. He wouldn't do that. Except he did. Afterward, I didn't go home. I couldn't. I walked out of that office like the floor had dropped out from under me. I got in my car and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept hearing it. "There are no allocations made to the decedent's younger son." Not even a mention. Not a watch. Not a letter. Not a photo. Not a token gesture. Nothing. It wasn't just about the money. It was about being erased. About someone I spent my life trying to please looking at me one last time and deciding I didn't matter. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, cycling through a dozen half-finished thoughts. Maybe there was another will. Maybe there was a codicil no one mentioned. Maybe the lawyer had misread it. I even convinced myself that there had to be a copy locked in a drawer somewhere, something that would make sense of it all. But the deeper I spiraled, the louder the same sentence kept ringing in my ears. "There are no allocations made to the decedent's younger son." It wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. The next morning, I didn't bother with work. I got dressed, got in my car, and drove to the house in Fairfield. Not my house anymore. Not legally. But the one I'd patched, painted, fixed, and mowed for the last 3 years. The one I used to call home. Susan answered the door with a confused expression, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I said nothing at first. Just stepped inside. She didn't stop me. I walked past the kitchen, through the narrow hallway, and into the living room, the same room we'd all sat in the night Rick came home from the hospital for the last time. "I need to ask you something," I finally said, my back still to her. She didn't reply. Just hovered by the doorway, arms crossed. "Did you know?" I asked. "That he left me nothing." Still nothing. "Did you know?" I repeated, turning to face her. "That he gave everything to Sean?" She blinked once. I did. It hit like a slap. Not the shock of it, the certainty. The way she didn't hesitate. like she had rehearsed this moment and was ready for it. Why? I asked. Why would he do that? She stepped forward slowly, like she was speaking to someone she pitied. You never needed anything, she said. That sentence stunned me. You were always the strong one, she added. You didn't ask for much. You were independent. Sean needed more help. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was ridiculous. Help? I said. You gave the house in Fairfield to someone who once punched a hole through the drywall during Thanksgiving dinner. Someone who stole your jewelry and blamed it on me. She didn't flinch. We thought if he had something of value, something to keep him grounded, maybe he'd change. You thought giving him a house would make him a better person? She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for a moment I saw something underneath all that cool detachment. Guilt. Shame. Fear. But it vanished as quickly as it surfaced. It was your father's decision, she said flatly. And I respected it. I felt my throat tighten. So that's it. You just went along with it. She nodded. I took care of him, I said. I stayed. I showed up. And you both looked at that and thought, he doesn't need anything. She didn't argue. Didn't defend. She just stood there, letting it land. That was the answer. Not a mistake. Not an oversight. A choice. I sat down on the old couch. The one with the fraying armrest and the cushion I used to nap on after school. It suddenly felt foreign, like furniture in a stranger's house. I never asked for anything, I said quietly. Because I didn't think I had to. Susan didn't move. I couldn't tell if she wanted to speak or wanted me to leave. I didn't ask for the house, I went on. I didn't ask for money. But I did expect something. A gesture. A note. A box of Rick's things. Something to show I mattered to him. You did matter, she said finally. Just differently. I shook my head. That's the thing. I don't think he knew me at all. I didn't go back for weeks. After Susan told me, with a straight face, that I didn't need anything, and that Sean needed a leg up, I walked out of that house in Fairfield like I was walking away from a funeral. Not for Rick, but for the last shred of belief I had in my family. And for a while, I stayed quiet. I didn't answer their calls. Didn't respond to Sean's smug little "it's not a big deal" text. I stopped paying the mortgage. Stopped picking up groceries. Stopped showing up to fix leaky faucets or shovel snow or bail them out. If I was invisible in the will, then I figured I might as well start acting like I didn't exist. It took about 10 days. 10 days of silence before the first real sign of panic showed up. A message from Rick. Property taxes due next week. Let me know. No greeting. No context. Just the assumption that I'd still be footing the bill like nothing happened. I stared at the screen, let the irony settle in, and typed back. I'm sure Sean will handle it. Since the house is his and all. It took 5 minutes before my phone rang. I didn't answer. Then came a text from Susan. Dylan, please don't do this. Can we talk? And for once, I didn't feel guilt. I felt nothing. Because now that the free ride was over, they wanted to talk. Sure. Now they had time. That night, I got a message from Sean. Of course. Dude, why are you being dramatic? It's not even a big deal. Just help them like you always do. I laughed out loud. Not a big deal. I typed back. You're the one who inherited everything. Use some of that money. He replied almost instantly. You know I don't have that kind of cash right now. Of course he didn't. He never did. The next day, I got a bank transfer request. $3,500. No note. No explanation. Just a cold, shameless demand from Susan for the exact amount of their mortgage shortfall. I declined it. Less than 5 minutes later, another text. Dylan, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I typed back. Because it's not my responsibility. Try Sean. And then, they showed up. Uninvited. Unannounced. I was at work when my building's front desk called. Hey, Dylan, Your parents are here. They say it's an emergency. I nearly dropped the phone. Don't let them up, I said, pinching the bridge of my nose. Tell them I'm not available. The receptionist hesitated. They're being kind of persistent. I closed my eyes. Of course they were. Another text from Susan. We're downstairs. Open the door. No question. No apology. Just another demand. Then another. We're not leaving until you talk to us. I went downstairs. And there they were. Susan, Rick, and Sean, standing like a damn intervention team. Susan clutched her purse like it was a stage prop. Rick looked annoyed, not ashamed. And Sean, leaning against the wall like he'd rather be anywhere else. Dylan, Susan said, reaching for me. We need to talk. I didn't let her finish. No, I said. You need to leave. Her face twisted. Excuse me? You heard me. Rick stepped forward. You're really going to let us lose the house over this grudge? I laughed. Cold and honest. Oh, you mean the grudge where you left me out of the will after I paid your mortgage for 3 years? That one? You want help? Ask your heir, I said, nodding toward Sean. He looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. I didn't ask for this, he muttered. No, I said. You just benefited. Like always. Susan gasped. Dylan, that's not fair. We only did what we thought was best for the family. I tilted my head. Best for the family? You mean best for Sean? Just say it. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Sean, who had been weirdly quiet, finally spoke. Look, man, I didn't ask for anything. I turned to him and let loose. No, you just sit back and take everything that's handed to you. You're 28 years old, Sean. Get a job. His face turned red. Dude, what the hell? You heard me, I said, stepping forward. You want to inherit the house in Fairfield? Start acting like a homeowner. You want to be the golden child? Start paying their damn bills. I'm done being your personal bank. Sean looked away, suddenly fascinated by the sidewalk. Susan took a deep breath, recalibrating her guilt trip. Dylan, he's your brother. Yep. And I've supported him longer than either of you ever have. Rick's voice darkened. You're being selfish. I laughed. That's rich, coming from you. I gestured between them. You two decided Sean deserved everything, and I deserved nothing. Now that the bills are stacking up, you want me to fix it. You want me to pretend none of this happened. But it did. And it's not my mess to clean up anymore. Susan's voice sharpened. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raised an eyebrow. Mature? You mean quietly accept being betrayed and keep paying your bills? Yeah, hard pass. Rick stepped forward, trying to loom over me like he used to when I was a kid. Dylan, we raised you. We gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I looked him dead in the eye. I already did. For years. And you repaid me by cutting me out. Susan's lip trembled. We thought you'd understand. I exhaled, shaking my head. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that I was never really family to you. Just a wallet. More silence. Thick and suffocating. I turned to Sean. What's your excuse? You had years to grow up, to get your life together. And you didn't. Because you knew they'd always take care of you. And when they're gone, you just expected me to pick up the slack, huh? Sean snapped. What do you want me to say, man? I didn't ask for this. I nodded slowly. Right. You didn't ask. You just benefited. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Nothing. Susan tried one last time. Dylan, we're family. Family takes care of each other. I stared at her for a long moment. Exactly. So why didn't you take care of me? That shut her up. No words. No comeback. I let out a slow breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, closing the door behind me. Before I even made it back to my couch, my phone buzzed. A new text from Rick. Wow. After everything we've done for you, you're really going to abandon us? I smirked and typed back. No. You abandoned me. I'm just finally accepting it. I hit send. Then I blocked their numbers. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at my phone for a long time after blocking them. My heart wasn't racing. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just tired. Tired of playing the responsible son. Tired of being the safety net. Tired of always doing the right thing while being treated like a spare part in my own family. I had done everything they ever asked of me, and then some. I worked through holidays. I skipped vacations to help them with bills. I stayed up late fixing leaks and unclogging drains and taking calls about broken appliances they never learned to use. And in the end, all I got was a pat on the back and a one-line omission in Rick's will. They didn't just exclude me from the inheritance. They excluded me from being seen. They looked at Sean, lazy, jobless, 28 and still acting like a teenager, and thought, "We need to protect him." But me? The one who held everything together? They thought, "He'll be fine." Well, they were wrong. Not because I wasn't capable. But because being fine isn't the same as being okay with being used. I wasn't okay. So yeah? I blocked them. Not out of anger. Out of survival. At first, I thought blocking them would be the end of it. No more texts. No more guilt trips. No more surprise appearances. But I underestimated one thing: they still had social media. Within days, my Facebook started lighting up, not with messages, but with public posts from Susan and Rick. Posts that were vague, manipulative, and full of thinly veiled shots at me. Susan posted something like, "It's so heartbreaking when your own child turns their back on you. We raised him with love. Families should stick together." Dozens of her friends liked it. Some left comments like, "You did your best, Susan," or, "Kids today have no respect." Then Rick chimed in with his own gem. "So-called family should never abandon you when you need them most. We gave everything we could." And just to really drive it home, he tagged me. I stared at that post for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. But something in me cracked open. They weren't just trying to guilt me anymore. They were trying to ruin my name. Make me look like the selfish, ungrateful son while they played the martyrs. And then, the cherry on top, Sean joined in. He posted a filtered selfie of himself sitting on the porch of the house in Fairfield with a caption that read, "Some people think money is more important than family. I know what really matters. I'll always take care of mom and dad." The audacity. The performance. The utter rewriting of reality. That's when I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I opened my Facebook. I didn't tag them. I didn't name names. I just wrote the truth. Here's what I wrote. "I've been quiet out of respect. But when your name is being dragged publicly, you have to speak up. I've supported my parents financially for years, from covering their mortgage and groceries to fixing up their home and being there whenever they needed me. I didn't do it for attention. I did it because I believed family shows up. But recently, I found out that while I was holding things together, they were preparing a future without me. They left me nothing in their will. Not a thank you. Not a keepsake. Nothing. Everything, and I mean everything, went to someone who has never contributed a dime, who hasn't worked in years, and who spent most of their adult life being bailed out. That person now has the house in Fairfield, the accounts, the assets. I was erased. And when I finally stopped funding their lives, they called me selfish. I'm not sharing this for pity. I'm sharing it because the version of me they're selling to the world, the ungrateful son, doesn't exist. I gave more than anyone asked of me. And I was discarded the moment I said no. So no, I'm not the villain in this story. I'm just someone who finally learned the cost of silence. I hit post. Then I logged out. I didn't check it for a day. When I finally did, my inbox was full. Cousins. Old friends. Even a few of Susan's church acquaintances. Some just left likes. Others messaged privately. "I always wondered why they treated you like that," or "You didn't deserve that, man." One message hit me hardest. It was from my dad's old coworker. "Rick talked about you like you were the one holding the family together. I had no idea this is what they did. I'm sorry." For the first time in weeks, I felt seen. I wasn't crazy. And I wasn't alone. I figured the worst was behind me. I'd told my truth. I'd blocked their numbers. I'd made peace with walking away from the people who raised me, because they clearly never planned to stand beside me when it counted. But then I got a call that stopped me cold. It was from Rick's lawyer. The same one who had read the will. His voice was calm, too calm, like he wasn't sure how I'd react. "Dylan," he said, "I know things have been tense, but something came up that I think you should see. Can you stop by the office?" I hesitated. "Is this about the will?" I asked. "Yes. But not the one we already reviewed." I froze. I sat across from him in the same chair I'd sat in during the original reading. But this time, the atmosphere felt different, less official, more unfinished. He placed a sealed envelope on the desk between us. "This was found in a locked drawer in Rick's old desk," he explained. "It wasn't part of the official record. But based on the date and handwriting, it may change things." My fingers hovered over it. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Rick's. I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The paper was yellowing, like it had been there a while, maybe years. And as I read it, my stomach turned. "Dylan, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and something didn't go the way it should have. I want you to know that what's in the official will, that's not what I originally intended. The truth is, I wasn't proud of how I raised you and Sean. I should have treated you both equally. But I didn't. You were always the one who kept things together. And I took advantage of that. I assumed you'd be fine no matter what. I was wrong. Susan insisted we rewrite the will. She said Sean needed it more. I didn't fight hard enough. I failed you. There's a copy of the original version, the one I wrote before we changed it, in the safe in the basement. Combination is your birthday. Do with it what you want. I'm sorry. Rick." I sat in stunned silence, the letter trembling in my hands. My father had left me out on purpose. But not entirely by his own choice. Susan had pushed for it. And he'd let her. He hadn't stood up for me, not when it counted. Not even on paper. I thought knowing the truth would bring closure. Instead, it cracked something deeper. The betrayal wasn't just neglect. It was silence. He saw what was happening. He felt the weight of it. And he still went along with it. Even worse, there had been an earlier will. One that included me. And it was still out there. Locked in the basement safe. I stood up. "I need to see it," I said. The lawyer nodded. "It's your call. But if the date checks out, and the signature is valid, it might carry more legal weight than what's currently filed." I walked out of that office with a storm building in my chest. If that original will said what I thought it did, then the house in Fairfield didn't legally belong to Sean after all. And suddenly, things weren't over. They were just getting started. That evening, I drove to the house in Fairfield for the first time since I'd slammed the door in their faces. I wasn't sure what I expected. Locks changed, lights off, maybe even Sean lounging on the porch again like he owned the world. But when I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. No cars. No lights. Just silence. I still had a key. They hadn't changed the locks. Probably didn't think I'd ever come back. I let myself in. The place smelled like dust and old memories. I walked through the hall without turning on the lights. I didn't want to see the photos. The fake smiles. I made my way to the basement, found the safe tucked behind a stack of old paint cans, and punched in my birthday. It clicked open. There it was, a manila envelope marked Revised Draft, July 2018. I pulled it out, sat on the basement step, and opened it under the glow of my phone flashlight. My name was on the first page. My full name. As beneficiary. For the house. For the savings. For everything. And just like that, everything I believed about my place in this family shifted again. Not because it made me feel chosen, but because it proved I hadn't imagined the bond one thought we had. Rick had once meant for things to be fair. He just hadn't had the strength to make it stick. But I did. The next morning, I called the lawyer. "The document is real," he confirmed. "Signed and dated nearly a year before the version on file." I asked the question I'd been circling for hours. "Does it change anything?" There was a pause. Potentially everything. I didn't tell Susan or Sean I was coming. I wanted them to see my face before they heard the news from anyone else. When I pulled up to the house in Fairfield, the driveway was full, Sean's car, Susan's SUV. They were home. I rang the bell and waited. Susan opened the door. Her face twisted when she saw me. Dylan? I found the safe. Her eyes flicked to the envelope in my hand. What? I stepped inside without asking. I found the original will. The one Rick wrote before you talked him out of it. Sean appeared at the top of the stairs. What the hell are you talking about? I held up the envelope. This document says everything comes to me. The house. The accounts. All of it. Sean scoffed. You've got to be kidding me. Nope. Lawyer says it predates the filed version. Which means it could be legally binding. Susan looked like she'd been slapped. You're trying to take the house away from your own family? She said. I stared at her. You mean the house you took from me first? Susan's jaw clenched. That will wasn't valid. We talked about it. Rick changed his mind. No, I said, holding the envelope steady. You changed it for him. He even said so, in the letter he left behind. He didn't fight you. And that was his mistake. Sean stomped down the stairs, face flushed. So what, now you're gonna sue us? You gonna evict your own mom and brother? I didn't flinch. I haven't decided. He laughed bitterly. You're insane. I'm done being taken for a ride. I snapped. You all made decisions behind my back and left me out like I was some stranger. Now you're angry because I found the truth. Susan tried a softer tone. Dylan, think about what you're doing. This is your family. I stared at her. Then maybe you should have acted like it. There it was again, that silence. That realization they no longer had control. I'll give you a few days, I said finally. Talk to your lawyer. Make peace with the idea that this house might not be yours anymore. Susan stepped forward. We'd be homeless. You still have Sean, I said, turning to leave. Let him take care of you. As I walked out, Sean shouted, You're nothing but a greedy. I turned back. No, Sean. I'm just finally playing the game by your rules. Outside, the sun was just beginning to set. My phone buzzed with a message from the lawyer. We can begin proceedings to challenge the filed will. If you're serious, I'll prepare the paperwork. I stared at it for a long time. And then I typed back. Do it. I sat in my car for a while before driving off. The envelope lay on the passenger seat like a loaded weapon. I kept glancing at it, half expecting it to disappear. Like maybe this was all a trick, a final delusion before I woke up in the middle of another sleepless night. But it was real. I could take everything. I could make them move out. Sell the house. Liquidate the assets. Part of me wanted to do exactly that. To burn the whole foundation they'd built on my back. To force Sean to work a job for the first time in his life. To make Susan live with the consequences of her favoritism. But another part of me, the part that still remembered birthdays and late-night drives to the hospital and old home videos of laughter, that part wondered if justice and peace could exist in the same ending. What would make me feel whole? Taking the house? Or just knowing they finally saw me? The truth was, I didn't know yet. But for the first time, I was the one with the choice. And I wasn't going to let them take that from me again. It took weeks to go through the legal motions. The lawyer filed the petition to contest the existing will, citing the original version Rick had signed and stored. The letter helped. The date helped even more. Susan and Sean lawyered up quickly. At first, they tried to fight it. Claimed the old version was irrelevant. That Rick had moved on. But when the handwriting analysis and witness testimony lined up, the reality hit them. The court might overturn the whole thing. And if that happened? Sean would lose everything. The house in Fairfield. The accounts. His free ride. Susan would be out of the home she just guilted everyone into defending. And me? I'd win. On paper anyway. But here's the thing about justice. Sometimes, getting it doesn't feel like you thought it would. The deeper the case went, the more public it became. Friends heard. Relatives whispered. Neighbors took sides. I was brave, to some, petty, to others. But the only opinion that mattered was mine. And I couldn't lie, part of me wanted revenge. Badly. I had spent years watching them ignore me, drain me, use me, and then toss me aside like I never mattered. Taking back what they tried to steal felt like justice. But on the night before the final hearing, I sat alone in my apartment with both wills laid out in front of me. One made me a ghost. The other made me the heir. And for the first time since Rick died, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel. Sadness. Not for them. Not for the house. For the fact that it ever came to this. The next day, I met Susan and Sean outside the courthouse. Their lawyer stood next to them, papers in hand. I held a small envelope, my own copy of the original will. I didn't say anything right away. Just handed the envelope to their attorney. "I'm dropping the case," I said. Sean's jaw dropped. "Wait, what?" "I'm not going to take the house," I said. "But I'm not coming back either." Susan looked confused. "Then why go through all this?" "Because I needed you to know I wasn't lying," I said. "That I was supposed to be part of this family. That Rick knew it too." She started to speak, but I held up my hand. "I don't want anything from you. Not your money. Not your guilt. Just distance." Sean shook his head. "So this was all for show?" "No," I said. "This was for me." I turned and walked away, ignoring the stares from everyone around us. Weeks passed. The house stayed in Sean's name. I heard they tried to sell it but couldn't get the price they wanted. I didn't care. What mattered was something deeper. For the first time, I'd chosen myself. Not revenge. Not reconciliation. Just peace. Sometimes, the cleanest break is the one you don't let them sew shut again. And if you're reading this wondering if you should finally walk away, let this be your permission. You don't have to keep setting yourself on fire to keep people warm. Especially not family. It's been months now. No calls. No texts. No more passive-aggressive posts. Just silence. And I've filled that silence with new things I choose. A better apartment. Friends who show up for me. Even therapy, where I'm finally unpacking years of resentment I didn't realize I was carrying. Sometimes, I still drive past the house in Fairfield. I don't stop. I don't slow down. I just glance in the rearview mirror and keep driving. Because I'm not the boy who used to fix their gutters. I'm the man who finally fixed himself.